So please welcome to the stage, Dr. John Taylor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. What a great pleasure it is to be here with you. We had such an exciting day yesterday with Dr. Bruno, and now it's my turn to give you sort of the science version of this. But this is a mix between science and sales and information. So I thought right off the bat, I wanted to give you some tools that I think will be helpful in your sharing with people, in addition to a science presentation. I'd like to make some comments, if I may, about the spin-off of yesterday. And all the information we received from Dr. Bruno was magnificent, of course, and just mind-boggling, the level of information you have there. I think that if you simplify algae and make it a believable living entity, and when you talk with a customer or an associate, that will open the door for you for more cooperation, and they're interested more. And so why don't you say this? Algae is a very simple creature, and it needs three things to live: sunlight, lots of minerals, and a water that it doesn't have to dive very deep in. It needs shallow water, sunlight, and minerals. And between you and me, this is aside from what you say to them, if you fall in love with algae, with AFA, you're going to fall in love with the lake. And if you fall in love with the lake, you're going to fall in love with AFA. And the idea that Klamath Lake is a giant skillet, a giant flat pan, 21 square miles worth, called Upper Klamath Lake. If you say to them, it's grown in Upper Klamath Lake, you might want to point out to them that AFA has also been discovered in 4 other lakes worldwide, but the other 4 are polluted, so this is the only place that's non-polluted. And you might want to say to them also that when people think of the idea of algae in a lake, they often think of a pond that's stagnant and like a giant black mirror with ponds come on it. And the fact is that Upper Klamath Lake is not a lake, it's a river. So why don't you say that? And why don't you point out to them that, have you ever heard of the Williamson River? And of course they say, no, that's right, because it's not famous, it's pristine, no one ever heard of it, pure water. And it widens into this flat area and then goes out the other end. You could take a ping pong ball where it enters, where the Williamson River widens, the north end of Upper Klamath Lake. 142 days later, that ping pong ball would be exiting out of the south part. So the so-called Upper Klamath Lake is actually a slow-moving river. Hence, fresh water constantly flowing into it and going out. Adding to what we talked about yesterday, they want to be safe and pure. All the business about being pure and safe. Add that in. That the lake itself is actually constantly pure because the water is flowing in and out. It's not a stagnant pond. I think that's a nice little angle there about the purity, the safety business. And simplifying the algae. It only needs minerals, sunlight, and a safe place to live. It's shallow enough that it doesn't have to go very far in its little movements up and down. And that, of course, is what you have in Upper Klamath Lake. Okay, the other thing I want to say, with my particular interest in my field of ADHD, the problem is that people with autism and ADHD are very subject to have metals go into their brain and lodge there, and just stay there. It's very abnormal. Normal people don't do that. And also other things that are poisons will make their way into the brains and lodge into the brains of people with ADHD and autism. The percentage of kids with ADHD who have poisons lodged in their brains is about 80% of them. And the percentage of people with autism of all ages who have poisons, including heavy metals, lodged in their brains is about 80% of them. Now, to get those metals out of a brain, a human brain cannot do it on their own. You need to crowbar those metals out. To get metals out of a brain, you need three things: chlorophyll, enzymes, and a lot of amino acids that will release sulfur atoms, such as methionine. Imagine this scene. You go to a compounding pharmacist, and if you have to explain that to the customer, go ahead and explain what a compounding pharmacist is. And you want to make a special thing that will really help. And so you say to the pharmacist, would you please make something for me that has the big four in it off the bat? That would be proteins, vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids. And by those proteins, make it at least 65% protein, please. And have enough protein, all 21 of them, and have that be the balance of the ratio of them to each other, exact match for human needs, please. And the vitamins, every single vitamin, please, except maybe D. And minerals, at least 60. And they have to be chelated. And fatty acids, please have a 2.5 to 1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6, the ideal one for human bodies. And would you please put in some phytochemicals and bioflavonoids, a healthy assortment of all kinds of them. And throw in a few that science hasn't measured yet, throw those into. And chlorophyll, please, at least 3 times that of long grass. Chlorophyll is very good for detoxing. I'm going to use this as a detox. And lots of live enzymes. In your processing of this stuff, never get a higher temperature than 100 degrees. Don't kill any enzymes. And have it be lots of enzymes in it, please. And I want no nuclei in any of the cells. I want this a very primitive, for sure, plant here. Would you please make it so we can't taste it? Because if we mix it with apple juice, you don't have to taste it. Something like that. And please keep the cost down. I don't want to pay any more than 40 cents a piece for these things, please. What would that compounding pharmacist do after he lifts himself off the floor having fainted? Well, people often say, well, who makes this stuff, Dr. Taylor? I say, God. It's not a man-made thing. And that's another approaching my little conversation with the pharmacist. Maybe you can bring that up. Maybe that's going to be helpful to somebody. Understand AFA. If you really understand AFA, if the world understood it, we'd be bidding a path to a new earth, you see. Anyway, I thought that was helpful. I hope that's helpful for you. Thank you. Thank you. It's just a prelude to the actual presentation. I haven't started the presentation. Getting away with something here. Give you some tools quickly. I want my website to be helpful for you too. My website has been recently renamed, revamped, and the current website that I have now is called Parentology, just the word parent and OLOGY .guide, G-U-I-D-E, parentology.guide. It's not .com or .net, it's .guide. Parentology.guide, that's the website. And on there, I have lots of tools that I want to make available to you so you know about them. I will produce, every month I produce 2 15-minute free little classes, I call them mini webinars, on topics relevant to family, living, parenting. And so if your clients are grandparents, if they know any children, if they know anyone who's parenting children or teenagers, then these would be relevant to them. There are a variety of topics, but it's something free and it might help them. Remember yesterday, I remember the one slide, the steps to your process, your handling of your clientele. The bottom line, the last one, was help them. And so I'm going to be producing lots of these handy dandy little messages, little free things. You can just have them go to it, and you could go to it and forward it to them or whatever. Anyway, they're free. And there are all kinds of stuff. Getting kids to sleep at night, child discipline, self-esteem, and so forth. Reducing sibling rivalry, getting them to cooperate on chores, handling anger, and so forth. And then I produce each month a 2-hour training on the same kind of field of enterprise. And the next one coming up in October is going to be on the care and feeding of your child's brain. And I will, of course, be mentioning AFA and that, and in a wider, lots of emphasis on nutrition and brain and all that. My November one is going to be Mega Answers to ADHD, where I again will be bringing, in my opinion, the best food to feed them in the first place, which of course is AFA. And December's is on encouraging a discouraged child, so psychological. Anyway, so I'm hoping that my website will be a source of some help for you, and you can help your clients that way, and something interesting for them to go to. Also, thank you. I have a bookstore on my website, and I've discounted the prices and everything, so it's a discount price bookstore. And everything on there is, in my opinion, the highest quality book out on that topic, a full range of topics relevant to ADHD and family life and so forth. And we have Dr. Jeffrey Bruno's excellent book, Edible Microalgae. If you want a book with 500 scientific references in it, there you go. That's Jeffrey Bruno's books right there on my website. So I hope that that's a source of information for your clients and for you. And I would love to inform you about the latest topics that are coming up in those little free ones and so forth. So if you give me your email address, I can do that. I have 2 pink cards on our table. If you just stop by our table sometime today, if you voluntarily give me your email address, I'll be able to inform those to you. Also, now I'm actually going to start the presentation, scientific thing. There we go. And there are 41 scientific journal article references that tie into all this. So what I'm about to train you in, you can have scientific proof for it all over the place if the issue ever comes up and you're working with your customers. And the email address you give me will be great for that. I can just email you those 41 references. So I'll do that. I'll give you this supplementary email, but please do give me your email address on that card if you would, please. So our topic here is when you're talking with your customer, you mention, oh, this is cold processed. So what? Well, so what is right. This all started with a study that happened last year, which I will come to and explain, happened to be on fruits and vegetable consumption. But as you know, antioxidants protect brain cells from free radical damage. And thus they are very good for driving down symptoms of people with psychiatric conditions. And that's been my draw to them. Almost any psychiatric condition that features free radical damage, if you start feeding that person things that are free radical quenchers, their symptoms go down. Certain minerals, like calcium, magnesium, and zinc, are important for optimum mental and emotional functioning. Incidentally, in case anybody ever asks you, those are the 3 leading mineral deficiencies in America for humans: calcium, magnesium, and zinc. Almost everyone with autism or ADHD has a nutritionally deficient brain. You can't find a nutritionally well-fed brain of someone with ADHD or autism. There are 3 scientific references for that teaching point in that list of 41 journal articles that I'll email you. Okay. Our next teaching point, vitamin C and carotenoids play a pivotal role in protecting the body against free radicals, oxidative stress, which happens to be responsible for causing and progressing of neurodegenerative diseases, anything that's chronically inflammatory, atherosclerosis, some cancers, and some forms of depression. So fruits and veggies contain a variety of micronutrients critical to physical and mental functioning. An important driver for the relationship between diet and health is the consumption of fruits and vegetables. High consumption of fruits and vegetables in general has already been found by research, and there are 2 scientific studies that go with this one, to lower rates of depression, lower rates of stress and stress symptoms, and lower rates of negative moods. People who eat more fruits and vegetables have a lower incidence of mental disorders, including lower rates of depression, perceived stress, and negative mood, and higher rates of happiness, positive mood, life satisfaction, and self-actualization. Social emotional flourishing, which captures feelings of meaning, purpose, fulfillment, and life. Now, the associations between fruit and vegetable intake and various mental health indicators appear to be dose dependent. There is the higher the percentage of the diet consists of fruits and vegetables, the better the mental health scores in general, but general population. And there's one study that shows that. Then the associations between fruit and vegetable intake and various mental health indicators appear to be robust against demographic, socioeconomic, social, and health variables of people, whether or not they smoke, their gender, their income level, the use of alcoholic beverages, how much they exercise, the body mass index, their education level. The principle that if you're eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, that's correlated with having better mental health indicators and outcomes in your life, happiness, and so forth. Longitudinal intervention research has shown a causal relationship. Also, there are 4 studies for this. Using longitudinal data from 12,000 people in a large study called the Household Income and Labor Dynamics Study in Australia, researchers found that a shift from low to high index of intake of fruits and vegetables across a period of 2 years resulted in significant improvement in life satisfaction scores, roughly equivalent of going from unemployment to employment. So life satisfaction increases correlated with that. So there's a dose-dependent relationship there. Increasing fruit and vegetable consumption improves depression symptoms among those who are already depressed. And there's one study showing that one. In a study of 3,700 undergraduate students from United Kingdom, consumption of salads and raw vegetables was associated with lower stress in the male college students. And raw fruits, raw vegetables, and cooked vegetables all significantly related to lower stress levels in the female college students. In a study of 1,800 European students, there was a stronger inverse relationship between the consumption of salads and stress than that of cooked vegetables and stress in women. Salads do a better job, are correlated with having less stress than cooking vegetables, even though both have the vegetables. In one study of 10,000 men living in France and Ireland, higher intake of raw fruits and vegetables were significantly predictive of less depressed mood, while cooked vegetables were not. So this whole business of being cold processed, minimally processed, practically raw, adds new meaning. You can add new meaning to that with these studies here and these references. You are what you eat is a famous adage that is increasingly supported by evidence linking healthy diets to optimum physical and mental health. And Dr. Laura Thompson, who wrote the best book out on nutrition as it relates to psychiatric conditions of children, was very aware of AFA, and she included mention of it in her wonderful book. And she even titled her book after that slogan. The name of her book is Our Children Are What Our Children Eat. That's another book we have on my website, available to anybody. Okay, on to this food processing information. Cooking, canning, and processing can significantly decrease nutrient and antioxidant content. Of course, we're interested in both of those with AFA, rich in nutrients in general and rich in the antioxidant particularly. Great for quenching free radicals. Evidence of significantly diminished nutrient contents occurs for some forms of produce diminished nutrient levels in cooked and processed produce are varied and appear to be individualized from nutrient to nutrient. So some nutrients are more susceptible than others to being wiped out by cooking and so forth. And there are 6 studies validating that slide, scientific studies in this list here for you. And then the water-soluble vitamins, such as B and C, are particularly vulnerable to heat degradation. There are 3 studies supporting that in that list of studies I'll email you, which mean that cooking would reduce the amount of the micronutrients that are supportive to mental and physical functioning, and from common vegetables like spinach, bell peppers, green beans that ordinarily would be very rich and good for you. The B and C will wipe out. Now, vitamin B, there are actually 4 kinds of vitamin B, and cyanocobalamin is the only useful form, and that's the kind that's in AFA. AFA appears to have a little bit of the other kinds too, but it's very big in the one that is the useful kind of vitamin B12. Okay, tomatoes, they are enhanced with the bioavailability of some of their antioxidants by cooking. So that's the reverse of that trend. And you got cooking tomatoes enhances bioavailability of nutrients. And broccoli, on the other hand, typical of the cruciferous vegetables, loses a lot of its impact, its nutrition, up with cooking. There are 6 studies showing that. Variations in content of vitamin A, carotenoids, and vitamin E occur between fresh and canned fruits and veggies, and there are 8 studies on that one. Increasing fruit or vegetable consumption improves feeling of vigor in young men, and low baseline levels of vitamin C and higher baseline mood disturbance. So men who are already depressed, that's correlated. Fruit and vegetable consumption improves them, and those who had low vitamin C levels often will have greater mood problems. Now, spinach, Popeye's favorite food, which is dramatically decreased in its nutrient content. You heard the statistic yesterday about broccoli being so, was it broccoli that you mentioned? So different? Yeah, it's broccoli. The nutrient value of it's so depressed since the 1940s, and so same thing with spinach. Same thing. Okay, decreases in thiamine during storage of spinach will occur. So even storing spinach, the thiamine will wipe out. And numerous factors can cause variations in vitamin C content of various products and various crops. Now, fat-soluble vitamins, such as A and D and E and K, they seem to be less susceptible to damage by heat and processing, therefore, than the water-soluble nutrients of B and C, thus limiting the deleterious effects of cooking on those particular vitamins. Not that they aren't hurt. Basically, your brain wants a lot of vitamin C and a lot of vitamin E. Those are the natural antioxidants that it'll seek out and want. Now, longer storage times for canned fruits and vegetables can reduce the bioavailability of nutrients, as you know. Other forms of processing, freezing, for example, may not be as deleterious. Of all age groups, young adults have the lowest fruit and vegetable consumption of all general age groups. And they are also the highest risk for mental health disorders of all various age groups. So the study that I was drawn to and wanted to portray for you today studies that. Fruit and vegetable consumption and mental health status in a study of young adults. So I thought it was particularly interesting. Now, nutrient delivery of foods is affected by factors such as soil deficiencies, storage methods, quality of the produce, that then influence availability and absorption of those micronutrients. all of which AFA is immune to and doesn't apply. I'll say that again. The nutrient delivery to the body of vitamins, minerals, proteins, from good stuff, fruits and veggies, is subject to factors from soil deficiency, as in the broccoli and the spinach, storage methods, and the quality of the produce in the first place. New Earth AFA, none of that applies. So I hope that's another point that might be helpful for you in portraying to people. So let's take a look at this study here. Recent study by Brookie, Best, and Connor, 2018, published in Frontiers of Psychology. Now this study investigated the differential associations between intake of raw fruits and vegetables compared with processed, that is cooked or canned, fruits and vegetables, and the mental health in a sample of young adults. Now, this study involved 422 young adults, ages 18 to 25, 2/3 of them female, living in New Zealand and the United States. They simply took an online survey interviewing them about their typical consumption of raw fruits and vegetables versus canned and processed fruits and vegetables. Mental health was measured by depressive symptoms. These are self-reported little scales that measure these for people, clinical scales. Anxiety scale, negative mood, positive mood, and overall life satisfaction index, what you might call self-actualization. So that's how they measured mental health measures. They controlled for socioeconomic status, body mass index, negative mood, sleep levels, physical activity, whether or not they smoked, psychiatric pharmaceuticals being consumed, whether they took vitamin pills, and so forth. So those are all controlled out. So whatever the findings are going to be robust against those factors. Regardless of what there is on that, what they do on that, the truth will emerge here from the study, to control them. And so basically it boils down to raw produce versus cooked, frozen, and canned. Frozen by the usual methods of freezing that snow crop, oh did I say that? That's wrong, snow crop, and other companies will do with their frozen foods. All right, 6 aspects of mental health were measured to capture both negative and positive aspects of illness-wellness continuum: depressive symptoms, anxiety, negative mood, positive mood, life satisfaction, and self-actualization. For each food category, they filled out a food survey. Participants estimated the number of days per week they ate that particular food. That, of course, was 0 to 7. If they reported eating a food at least one day per week, then they reported the number of servings they typically consumed on the days that they ate that food. And the types of foods they typically consumed, they also indicated from a checklist of commonly consumed foods in each category, such things as carrots, lettuce, etc. The researchers also created what they called a unhealthy food index, asking the people how often they consumed soda drinks, French fries, assorted candies that were not chocolate, and then anything chocolate. And so, results. Now, results of the study. Controlling for the covariates, raw fruit and vegetable intake predicted reduced depressive symptoms and higher positive mood, more life satisfaction, and greater self-actualization compared with processed fruits and veggies. There it is. That's the bottom line. Now we come to, when tested side by side then, the consumption of raw, which would be AFA, minimally processed, fruits and veggies, significantly outperformed processed forms in a prediction of mental health outcomes. Cooking and processing of fruits and vegetables has the potential of diminished nutrient level, which limits the delivery of nutrients that are essential for optimal emotional functioning. Consumption of processed fruits and vegetables, particularly processed fruits, was associated with more unhealthy foods like the candy and the French fries, with the exception of chocolate. So chocolate escaped unscathed. After all, it is from a bean, it's got to be a vegetable. We got to do something like that. Okay. Raw bananas and apples were the strongest predictors of most mental health measures. And almost all other raw fruits were related to positive mood and self-actualization. The top 6 raw fruits related to better mental health were apples, bananas, berries, citrus fruits, grapefruit, and kiwi. Before you go beyond kiwi, remember, please, it's probably the most nutrient-dense of all the fruits. And the slogan, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away," should be a kiwi a day, what keeps the doctor away. Of course, my slogan about doctors is very simple. Don't ask doctor, ask Danya. That's just, yeah. Now, in terms of raw vegetables, what could be called salad fixings were the most significantly related to aspects of mental health. They include vegetables like carrots, dark leafy greens, the cruciferous vegetables, lettuce, cucumber, red onion, cabbage, celery, tomato, mushroom. Any of those sound familiar? And notice the color ranges with Dr. Bruno yesterday told us about the pigmented, the orange, the green, all those things there. The top 4 raw vegetables related to better mental health: carrots, cucumbers, dark leafy greens like spinach, and lettuce. The study provided evidence that consumption of raw fruits and vegetables has a stronger relationship with mental health than a consumption of cooked or canned fruits and vegetables. Raw fruits and vegetable consumption was associated with fewer depressive symptoms and higher positive mood, life satisfaction, and self-actualization. Raw fruits were additionally associated with reduced negative mood. Processed fruits and vegetables were associated with positive mood, but not with any other aspect of mental health variables. The unhealthy foods composite index was not related to mental health variables. However, higher soda consumption was correlated with more depressive symptoms and lower life satisfaction. Well, my friends, there's no way about it. That little gift from this slow-moving river is going to be here for a long, long time and changes the world. Thank you for allowing me to help you today. Thank you. Thank you very much. My pleasure.